Thank you very much and welcome to the exclusive or build their homes. And before we do start, I am going to be in the studio with a few experts. Before the other experts do come in, we're going to pass a few questions around. But please, if you are listening to us now or watching us, please do send in your questions, which the experts will be answering. We'll do a pre-session, which will be live if you're watching now before the experts do come in. So I'm going to start off quickly by asking a few questions. These are questions that will prep you. Please, if you are listening, I would love to repeat this. Send in your questions because the experts will be answering them as we go along. To my left, I have Madam Ruth Saki. Madam Ruth Saki, how are you?
I'm good, Daniel.
Welcome to the exclusive webinar.
Thank you.
Madam Ruth Saki, I want to ask you a very quick question. Okay. And let's be really honest about this.
Okay.
If you had money readily available, tell me, would you buy or build a house?
That's an interesting question.
Right.
If I had money readily available,
cash.
That means I have money.
That's what
I don't think I'll build. I'll buy.
Why is that?
Yeah, because I don't have time. I have a lot of engagements. I don't think I can. I have that enough time to see a building right from the foundation up until I'm in completion stage. That's too much. Too much work, too much time. And particularly because I'm very keen on security, I'd want to be somewhere where I feel safe. So probably in a gated community with a developer would be an option I'd go for, honestly.
I love the part where you talk about security. Are you saying that if you decide to build your own home, you won't have security?
Not to say that, because yes, there are estates that sell service plots and all that,
right.
But I would prefer to buy because I have the money and I would want to be in a safe space.
Right. If I understand you properly, because it's a community, you'd have people around you, you feel safer with a lot of people who are like-minded people in the same community.
Exactly.
That's what you mean.
Yeah,
exactly. Thank you very much, Madam Ruth Saki.
Thank you, Daniel.
Right. I'll move on next to Mr. Ernest. He needs no reintroduction on this webinar. But Mr. Ernest, a very quick one. What scares you most about the building process?
Thanks, Daniel. With respect to construction of houses, absolutely nothing scares me because that's my job. I've been building for years, so I know all the pitfalls. I have no issues dealing with those. In the whole process of building a home, I'd say my biggest concern is issues with land ownership. There are a lot of pitfalls there. There are situations where you have titled land, and when you start building, people show up, court cases, lots of headaches, lots of unplanned expenditure to solve problems. So I guess that's the biggest problem. Once you overcome that and things start moving, no issues with building after that. Nothing scares me.
So have any of these things that you mentioned, has any of them been a fear to you before?
Fear land ownership issues?
Yes.
Fear I deal with every day. But it's a temporary fear because once you overcome the problem and you start moving, then you're good to go.
Okay.
But at the early stage, they're often surprising.
So really the process itself gives you no fear at all?
The building process? No, nothing at all.
I'm assuming you don't have the fear because you're an expert in what you do.
Absolutely. It's like if you know how to cook well, you cook for yourself. Right. If you don't, you either go to a restaurant or you find somebody else to cook for you.
That's amazing. I actually love that quote. If you know how to cook, you cook for yourself. If you don't, you have to go to the restaurant.
Correct.
Or you believe a seasoned chef will prepare something for
Absolutely.
you. I think we can really move this towards the real estate industry and talk about people who don't know how to build and decide to build. Yes. We're all experts in different fields. And I think you have to leave making of chairs to carpenters, and you have to make content creation to content creators.
Absolutely.
You cannot do everything. Everybody should stay in their lane. Best. Most especially. Thank you very much. I'll move on to Madame Stephanie Latele. I love your smile. Madame Stephanie, I want to ask you a question. That if you had income coming into you in small, irregular amounts, would you buy or would you build?
I would build.
Why is that?
Because, salaries are scheduled payments.
Right.
So you are able to plan, and then you can section your project in seasons. So then when my salary comes this month, I can pick, oh, I want to work on my kitchen. Then I plan towards the kitchen. And it reduces the pressure of picking up a lump sum of money to go buy a house and then experience some struggles later. But when my salary is coming and it's in bits and pieces, then I can plan towards and section my project, reducing the pressures of having to buy in whole.
You know, I love the part where you did talk about having to section your money and then know when to move it into which part of the building you want to continue with. And my question is, with the rising costs that we have currently in the country, you know, today you're going to buy a bag of cement, it's 50 cedis, tomorrow it's 70 cedis. Your salary it doesn't appreciate that much, if you will agree with me. How are you able to go around that?
You still have to plan. Once you know what is coming, you still know. So if I take, let's say, 10,000 a month,
Right.
and then I can buy five bags of cement, and then I appreciate. Then I know next month I won't be able to buy 5 bags of cement. I'll still buy 3 bags and still work on the same section I've already planned on working on till I get to the destination that I need to get to. It's all about planning. So
Super, super. All about planning. Will financing be an option to you? Would you
yes,
look at approaching
if I
banks to
have
help?
that option, I'll definitely go for it.
Well, the truth is, you do have that option available to you. The banks
Yeah.
are everywhere.
readily-
Exactly. They're readily
Yeah.
available to
Yes.
you. So is that
So
something
if
you
it's
will be
an-
considering?
If it's an option, definitely. It reduces the pressure. So
I think one of the
Go for
key
it.
things people always look up to is mortgage. And I think there are lots of myths around mortgage systems in Ghana. People are scared, okay, if I go into financing, will they take my home? Will they, if it's a property that I bought from a developer, are they coming to confiscate it? Is that a fear for you?
well, once I have a good relationship with my bankers, I don't think it should be a fear for me. They should be able to give me an option that will take away that fear. So I don't think that will be a fear for me once my relationship is solid with my
Thank you
bank.
very much. I'd love to move back to Ernest. And I think earlier we did speak about your fear, but I have a very significant question. I think it's a question that people struggle with too as well. Now, if you had 5 seconds, pardon me, the certainty of a finished house and going through the dilemma or that daunting task of seeing a house from the scratch all the way to the roofing. If you had to choose within 5 seconds, what will it be and why?
From me personally,
Personally.
or general advice to everybody else?
Personally, I think there are people like you. So it helps
Yeah.
those people kind of make decisions towards what you were thinking.
I think it would depend on what my needs were at the time.
Right.
Most of the time, I would want something finished if it was just about ownership, having the property. However, there may be a time where I want something special, it's not readily available on the market, and then, of course, in that case, I would consider building.
Right. Right. Well, from the beginning, you have said that you have no fear to build because this is your field.
Correct.
How long have you been doing this, sir?
In various forms, I've been in the business for about 20 years.
20 years. Are you able to tell us some of the projects you've undertaken? The skylines of Accra, please tell us.
So as a group, we've been involved in various things, the Trasacco Group project, the Trasacco Valley, Villaggio, and as a contractor, apartment buildings like the Signature Apartments, office buildings like the World Bank building, IFC building, One Airport Square.
All right.
We did the Accra Sports Stadium back in before CAN 2008. We recently did a stadium in Takwa, for Goldfields. So
That's amazing. I don't know whether it was a rumor, but I heard that the president did commend those who had actually worked on that project in Takwa. I don't know.
Yeah, he did.
I heard it's a rumor.
He did. I mean, he was happy. He was happy with the work, but it was more about the cost.
Right.
Because he was looking at the cost of some of the other things that were built in the past, some stadia that were done in Cape Coast and Tamale, and he compared it to what the outlay was on the Takwa Stadium, and he felt that the one in Takwa was better and far cheaper. So that's why he recommended that architects and contractors should be consulted for future stadia to be built in Ghana.
Right, that's amazing. You mentioned Cape Coast. I'm not too aware of any projects in Cape Coast. Are you able to elaborate on
No,
that?
that wasn't ours. I mean,
Okay.
there's a stadium in Cape Coast that
Right.
was done, I think, by a Chinese group
Okay.
near the university.
So comparatively, I was looking at the cost for
Yes.
that and then the cost of what you had done
Correct.
in Takwa.
Yes.
And gave you a thumbs up on that.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. This tells me that you're an expert in building.
Thank you.
And I think people who are listening would want to, I mean, if they have to do anything, I think they should be talking to the right people or the right persons when it comes to building. And to Ruth Saki, you're rolling your eyes. You're the one who doesn't have all the time in this world.
Yeah,
you're talking about you wanting to buy straight away if you have the money because you don't have time. And I think there are people like you. They don't have the time. They want to concentrate on whatever they are doing, be it their businesses or other engagements, and they would want to move straight into buying. Listeners, if you're listeners and viewers, please send in your questions. We will be willing to answer them. The experts are in the house. This is a pre-discussion. So if you have questions, please do send them in. They'll be joining us soon. So back to one final question. If you had 265,000 USD in your bank account, no, let me start from Steph. If you had $265,000 in your bank account, are you going to go ahead straight walk to a developer and then buy cash, or you'd want to finance it, or probably you might put something down like an initial deposit of 10,000 USD and then stagger your payments towards the end of the construction, i.e. it can be a construction linked timeline to whatever you want to do. You have the money in your bank account. What decision will you take?
Oh, well, I think I'll go straight and buy it.
Why is that?
It's to take the pressure off. Once I pay for it, I know the work is going to be done. I trust my developers. I go to bed like peacefully.
Right. So you're going to move the 265,000 US dollars straight up and give it to a developer and hope that they complete your
I have
development.
the money, so why not?
Right. I think people probably might have divergent views on this. I'd love to ask Ernest. Mr. Ernest, yes. Same question to you. If you had that amount of money, are you going to move and pay everything cash, or you're going to do something else?
Are we talking about a completed house or something that's under construction?
So it's under construction.
So if I trust the developer, I would probably pay cash, but negotiate a slight discount just because, time value of money.
Exactly. I wanted to hear that part, the time value of money. So because of that, you'd be negotiating for a
Slight
discount.
yeah.
Yes. And if you don't get the discount,
I'll pay over time.
you pay overtime.
Yeah, I'll pay over the construction period.
What would you do with the rest of the money?
Well, I mean, it will be in something earning some money rather than just sitting in the bank.
All right. So it's more important that we are always looking at the time value of money and making some of these decisions.
Correct.
Madam Rutsaki, what would you do in this instance?
That's a dicey question. But yeah, I believe the best time to buy real estate is when it's off plan. So potentially you are entitled to a good discount. So yes, if I have the offer of a good discount, why not? I'll buy cash. Then you also have the option of an installment plan. So you can do the initial deposit because you bought earlier, and then you can spread the installments and then push your money somewhere else. But then if the cash offer gives you, a better discount, then I'll go for the cash. So it depends on what exactly
The
I'm going
dynamic
for.
at play.
Exactly. So if I'm going for the installment plan and I can get some good pricing, especially with a discount, I'll go for it. I'll compare both cash discount, full payment discount, and then installment discount and see which one works. If the installment goes for it, I'll do that.
Right. Viewers and listeners, I think one very key thing I want us to touch in before we begin the session is the legal foundation when it comes to buying or building. I think it's one thing that people ignore a lot in our part of the world, in Ghana. If I want to buy a home now, I just go to a developer and they send me a contract and I read through it myself and I just want to proceed. I want to ask through a question to all three of you. Is this something that you're looking at? Is it, I think probably most people think about legal fees, so they don't really want to engage lawyers when they want to buy properties. But Madam Stephanie, direct question to you. legal fees on the side, would you approach a lawyer to help you buy a property, or you feel you know it too well that you can do this on your own?
So I'm not a legal expert, so definitely I would have to seek advice because property is something that could bring future disagreements, and if you don't make informed decisions, you might find yourself wanting. So I think the best and ideal option was to seek legal expertise before you decide to pick up a huge sum of money and acquire a property. Yes, so I would seek legal advice.
Thank you very much. You want to seek legal advice? I'd move back. Madam Trasacco, what would you do? And I'm asking this question because you are in the real estate field. You think you know enough to want to do this on your own?
No.
Why is that?
I'm of the same view with Steph. I think property is a very substantial decision to take, buying property. So before I make any engagement, I'll make sure I understand terms and conditions, especially because some of them there's some hidden clauses which you need further interpretation towards. So yes, I think I would go for a legal expert to interpretate these terms. And then I think, then I can go ahead and.
Before you continue, I've heard lots of buyers ask me when they are consulting with me that, Daniel, are there hidden clauses, just like you mentioned? What do you mean by hidden clauses? Is there a stated clause that you don't understand, or it's actually hidden that when you read, you just don't understand, so that later it might be a problem to you?
Okay, so it's just viewing at face value. Once you read a clause or provision, you need an interpretation to understand exactly, be in the same mind as the developer, what the developer is saying, to know whether you are ready or you understand what the terms are. So yes, not that the clause or provision is missing or not in a document, but it's about interpretation, what it means, and how it's more like implicates you or the developer, just to be on the same page. That's it.
Please stop speaking like a lawyer. Mr. Terraponi.
Oh, it's always good to have some legal advice, so you just have a clear understanding of any document you're signing. I mean, generally, when you're dealing with a developer that's got a track record, there shouldn't be issues. But in any agreement, there could be situations where, as a buyer, your understanding of the terms is different from developers. And if you don't get the proper explanation from professional, you may misunderstand certain things and may be surprised a bit later. So it's always good to have legal advice.
Right, but if I feel that I'm well vested in property,
Yes.
Can the developer not help me to walk me through this for me to understand property? I'm asking this because sometimes I don't want to pay legal fees, and I know what legal fees is like in this our part of the world.
Yes.
I don't want to pay it. Can I understand this like the developer? Maybe the lawyer could come on board and really explain this to me. Is that a possibility?
As long as the developer has good intentions, yes. But if the developer doesn't have good intentions, then, you're taking advice from somebody who could be your opponent. That's the...
Right. I think a developer with a good intention would be a developer with a track record. And the most amazing thing is Trasacco has 30 years track record in this field. And listeners and viewers, please do send in your questions. We are wrapping up. I have one final question for them to wrap up, and we begin the session. And I believe that this is going to help you understand the processes real quick. I'm going to turn again. Would you still stay with your answer? That's my final question, actually. Would you still say what you said? Would you buy or would you build? I'll start with Stephanie.
If I have scheduled payments, I'll build. If I had money sitting in my account waiting to be used, I'll buy.
That's another dynamic. Thank you very much. Mr. Tarikoni.
Me, I said it depends on the type of property I'm looking for at the time. That would determine what I would do. But buying for me is more convenient.
Right.
Yeah, it's much more convenient.
Right.
But of course, if I want something completely different that's not on the market, I know how to build. So
With what you've done with the skylines of a, I'm pretty sure that you might want some very flamboyant design, and that probably might mean that you'd want to build.
not really. I like simple things.
You like simple
I
things?
like simple things.
Right, that's amazing. But I'm good.
Yeah, I'm still sticking to my decision. I would buy.
You would buy.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. And listeners and viewers, the experts are in. We will be delving deeper into this and be able to take your minds on this as well. Please do remember to follow our socials, trasaccoproperties.com, and send in your questions because the experts will be answering them. We are ready for you today. Thank you very much, my early panelist. My experts will be joining me soon. Thank you very much.
You're
Right.
welcome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, viewers. You've been staying on. Please, I need to announce that please do send in your questions to the team. The team of experts are well seated and they are here. We have 4 panelists. These are the experts that Trasacco Properties and F&B came together to collaborate to bring along to make you understand the dynamics and the rudiments of owning a home. I think throughout our lives, one of the best things you want to do is to own a home. But owning a home has come with its own problems. Some people are always at that crossroad. Should I buy or should I build? This is a very question that comes to everybody. And it goes beyond a mere financial decision. I think this is a daunting task for everybody. And today, we're going to help you to understand and go through the rudiments of either buying or building. At the end of the day, we'll have a roundtable discussion and you'll be able to make that final decision. I have with me 4 guest speakers or panelists today, and we'll start with one of them. But before we start, I'd love to reiterate the fact that please try as much as possible to follow us on our socials because you get to understand what we're doing, and our next webinar topic will be coming to you as well. The socials, Trasacco Properties, and then you click the like button, and then you get all the details you'd want to know about this. I want to move in real quick. Now, if you want to buy or you want to build, someone always leads you to something. It should be a broker or an agent that leads you to a land or to a developer. The quick question is, do you know who you are dealing with? And we have someone who is an expert in that field to help us actually understand that part better. Than Mr. Emmanuel Jeffrey, who's the CEO of the Real Estate Agency Council. Mr. Jeffrey, welcome to the webinar.
Thanks for the invitation, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much. What is the role of REAC?
So I just have to tell you the functions and when it was enacted,
Right.
First of all, so that people would understand the mandate of REAC. So I think REAC was enacted by Parliament in 2020 Act. And clearly the objectives of REAC is to regulate the real estate market and all commercial activities related to real estate in terms of sales, rental purchases, and all fixed assets related. So that's clearly the functions, but generally it's supposed to be to regulate the real estate market in the country, yes.
Right.
Those are the functions of REAC, yes.
Right. It was enacted in 2020, you
Yes,
said.
so there's Act 1047. So I want to entreat everybody who's listening to us to read the Act. It's actually a blue book. So if you have any other book, then it's fake.
Just a quick question. Something that was enacted in 2020 means it's been 5 years in existence.
Right.
Do we have enough education out there? Because up until a year ago that I heard about it, I knew nothing about REAC.
So I think my predecessors and my big man on the left used to be at the board chair.
Right.
I think they did a lot of work in terms of documentation and everything, but the major issue was operational and logistical issues. I mean, so clearly if you look at the mandate, it's very operational. So if you don't have government pushing a lot of funds, there's a bit of a hitch. But what they did was they did a lot of good work, and I'm continuing. I think that if you look around, there's been a lot of awareness all across. And people never knew about the agency in terms of awareness, but right now it's picked up, and we promise to do more. And that's why we're here.
All right. Thank you very much. So quick question. Let's go straight to the dilemma that we have. But quick question. What do you have to look for in a developer when you want to engage them from the lens of REAC?
Right. I mean, so I'd like to explain this to you. So if you look at the functions of REAC, the developers were not really part of our mandate to regulate them. But if you look at the chain, they're supposed to be part, because you notice that the agent will definitely sell for a developer. Right. And we keep on having challenges where people are coming to us that they bought properties from developers and they are not getting their money. So we need to address that. So clearly we are telling the developers that, look, we have to do it together. And I think they are buying into it to make sure that there's sanity in the system. I mean, clearly, if you want to buy a property for a developer, I think, first of all, you have to do your due diligence, which is clear. So they have an association called Grader. So I believe that you need to check from Grader to find out if you're a member, and check for register of companies as well. Now, what we're doing is we're building a data with even the developers to ensure that you can come to REAC as well to speak to us if they are part of us. And those are clear areas that you could do your proper check. And also, I think you should also, when you want to engage them in terms of JVs and things, it's always very important to deal with Lands Commission as well. And also with the banks, it's very essential to talk to the banks as well that this guy wants to come on board. And that area is very critical because if the bank knows that the person is dodgy in terms of due diligence, it helps you as an individual. So those are areas that I think is very important to check before you deal with a developer.
Right. So for someone who doesn't do all these checks, what are the risks of dealing with an unregistered developer or agent or a broker?
So if you look at the mandate of the act and our collaboration with the FIC, what we're doing essentially is building data of all agents, all brokers across the country and all developers across the country. So I think what we want to do in building our LI is to ensure that we pick up all the data of all the agents and developers in the country. So if you are not registered, then it means you're on your own. So we can come after you. So these are things that we're going to publish in the newspapers to ensure that people will be privy to all the developers who are registered. So it means that if you see somebody's name who's not part, then clearly he's not part of the regulated market. Yes.
Right. So one other thing that I think viewers would love to know is that they want to know, now you said that, yes, there is an enactment.
Yeah.
People now know that
Right.
there is React in the system. If they deal with a trusted developer
Right.
and there is an issue, who do they go to? Does React address this personally?
So that's a good question, actually. So if you look at our functions, I think it's J. It talks about structures where we have to get the AGI center, and I'm sure you know about the ADR. It talks about conflict resolution. So like I said earlier, we keep on having people across who are having issues with developers, and we've actually, part of our education, we made them aware that you have to come to us. So what we do is once they come to us, we write to the developer in terms of natural justice to ensure that we listen to his part. But prior to that, we write to the police and we write to Yoko as well, because clearly most of the issues are all financial fraud and pure misrepresentation and unethical behaviors and things. So we'll make sure that we follow through the process. And I think that because of that, it's bringing a bit of sanity in the system. People are happy, but proud to that, people do know where to go, and they're happy that there's at least a mouthpiece which collaborates with all the agencies to make sure that people can sleep. So that's something that's part of our function, which we are pushing. Yeah.
Okay, great. I think we are having some questions from viewers.
Right.
And I want to pass them through so that you can answer them as we go. Someone actually wants real life stories. Someone is asking, have you ever assisted someone to actually retrieve the money from any developer before?
Well, I think that like I said, there's been a lot of petitions. There's been one strong petition from the government and a few others. And these are processes you don't just handle in a day. It goes through processes, and you have to make sure there's proper, fair trial to listen to both parties. But I'm saying that what I've done now is there's a lot of trust because people are being heard, and that's what they wanted to know. And the other parties as well are speaking the truth, and clearly it brings about confidence. So it's not the issue of if I have delivered one person, but it's the issue of collectiveness. And I believe that there's been a stronger collaboration in terms of what people want to see is somewhere I can go, somebody will listen to me, somebody will follow through my problem. And that's what we're doing. And clearly, if you come to our office, you know that we're doing well. So tell whoever asked you the question that we're working for everybody to be happy. And that's what we're doing to ensure investor confidence. Yes.
Right. That's what you heard right there. They are working and doing everything possible to make sure that you are confident in your investment. There are questions coming in thick and fast, but I'd love to move on to the next speaker to engage him from the Lands Commission. Before we started the program, someone sent us a message and said, Timothy is my guy, So we very much know that this is a guy that everybody knows in when it comes to land administration in Ghana, I would have no other person than he's an esquire as well, Surveyor Timothy Anyidoho. Would ask you a few questions, but it's very important that people know who you are. So, quick question. I'm pretty sure that anytime anybody decides to buy a house or to buy a land, everything actually starts from you as well. Once they've gotten someone to direct them to the land. Are you able to take us through the regulatory framework? What should someone look out for?
Okay, so it's simple. Lands Commission, it's a creature of Constitution and a creature of Act. You know, REACT's Act was in 2020.
2020.
Right, yeah.
It's 1047. The Land Act, which sort of helps in governing land administration, was reviewed again and also passed in
2020, yeah.
2020. So we are sort of twin acts seeking to
yeah.
achieve the same
Same thing.
things. And we have a relationship even in sections of the acts together. So yes, you said if you decide to buy a property, you've even seen a broker, you are interested in a property, what you want to do is to be sure that whoever is claiming to sell the property has the capacity to give you, to sell the property to you. And that's where Lands Commission comes in. We hold a monopoly for registration of properties in Ghana. We're a government agency, so we have the records that relate to those who have come to us to register their interest. And I want to emphasize that because we don't have every record. And that's where some of the difficulties come up. So, but we have as much records as relate to those who have come to Lands Commission to register their interest. Even though registration is compulsory by law, enforcement is where the issue is, because it's one of those laws that are fluid. How do you just jump on the land and say, come and register? It's whether he has the money, whether he has the right documentation. And so that's it. We do deal with registration. People confuse our mandate with town and country planning and the others, but we are strictly to do with
registration
of.
I think you said something that was very important to me. Up until now, I didn't know that it was actually compulsory to register your land.
Yes, it is by law.
Is it punishable?
Yes, so the law says you must register within a certain period of acquiring the land. It gives, I think, 6 months or so. But the enforcement, again, is the issue. Because if he comes after 10 years, 5 years, the law makes room for penalties.
Right.
So the penalties are monetary, because you also understand that you have to encourage people to register. So even if you look at it doesn't make it punishable as a criminal offense.
Right.
What it does is those offenses that don't have a penal punishment to it. It's more to do with penalties, more financial penalties to it. So you pay a higher stamp duty. I always say that you punish yourself by delaying registration. Whether you do like it or not, you come back. People buy land in 1994. They appear to register in 2000 and 2024. The stamp duty or the duty on the property is almost the same price as they bought the land in maybe 1994, and they are confused. But if they had registered it in 1994, the costs, attendant cost may be cheaper. So you punish yourself by delaying registration, all the same. And there are knock-on effects if you don't register. You know, for instance, the bankers will not look at you favorably because they are very concerned about the security of your title before you can go to them. You yourself cannot use the property onward as equity in terms of getting money. And everywhere now, before you buy a property or you're able to attract some facility, the most important thing is that you must have a title, good title to the land. Yes.
Right, that's very, very key. Viewers, then again, this is a very informative session. And like I said, I'm finding out things I didn't know myself. Lawyer Timothy Anyidoho, quick question. Now, someone wants to fulfill this legal obligation. They want to buy a property or they want to buy a land. Take us through the step by step.
So I say it's a 3-stage process mainly. You see it first, and so you must love it in your heart.
Right.
And that part, nobody controls that. It's you and your pocket. Once you are certain that that's what you want, what people don't see early in transactions are what we call site plans. So people see it as a nice building or it's a nice parcel of land. they fall in love with it. They end up having gone through the entire transaction, paid fully. They have their indenture, as we properly call it, before they come to the Lands Commission. At that stage, you would have run a huge risk because you are now coming to Lands Commission for Lands Commission to confirm if your grantor's ownership is right. By that time, that owner may not be available to you. He may have vanished into thin air. He may not be the one who has the capacity. So the site plan is the most critical document you must get at the beginning because it will be the basis for which you can run a search with the Lands Commission. We have offices countrywide. So in every region we are present, in all 16 regions. And the records of the Lands Commission would advise you on what it has in relation to the ownership. Once it advises you, the second one will be, we always say, you go to the land itself and test the ground. In law, they'll call it to exercise rights of possession, but you need to be sure because, moving from the paper to the reality, there may be a disconnect.
Yes.
And that's where most people can transact. They have documentation, believing it to be the right documentation, but then when it comes, later on, they go onto that same parcel of land and issues arise. So the search is critical. And then if you are sure, you add the search and the ground truthing together, and you are sure you want to continue, then it's application of the right professionals, i.e. the lawyers, the surveyors, to be able to get you what we call the indenture, but which is the document that covers the land. Once you're able to employ the right people, you get the indenture, then Lands Commission will be sitting pretty and waiting for registration.
Right. So before you continue with the second thing, I think what you said applies mostly to someone buying a land.
Yes.
Someone dealing with a developer.
Yes. So even that may be even more risky.
Right.
Because your assumption is that you are seeing the buildings. It is fair complete. Mm-hmm. But again, those buildings would be registered, wouldn't they? They would be registered.
Right.
And the definition of land itself encompasses the building itself. So when we talk about land, by its definition by law, it is the surface of the earth, a reasonable height above, and everything affixed to the land. So the building is land itself. And when you see the building, you may be carried away to assume that everything is fine. And then you come to register, and you may have challenges in registration. So if I want to preempt the question of practicality, this week, I had a lawyer walk into our office, and then he had a gentleman who relocated to Ghana from California, bought a property, relocated back to California, and sold. It's been 4 years now, and the documentation is not complete. And there are threats on both parties. Even though the buyer is comfortably sitting in the property, he's uncomfortable that his documentation process is not complete because tomorrow if something happens, really hot. But the buyer went ahead with the belief that once I can step into the property, again, if he had checked properly, he would have found out that there was a gap. And even though he has the property, it's because there's a gap in the record. The one who bought it never completed his process. So he needs to go back to the one who sold to him. And the one who sold to him is not so concerned in completing, giving the documentation process. So
quick question.
Yeah, there are gaps in there.
If the person is dead, what happens?
Also, his estate is always there. Everybody dies, other interstate. In Ghana, we have laws, whether you die with a will or without a will. There are people who administer your estates for you. So it has risks again, because I know there's a property somewhere in Accra where the man bought it from the kid's dad.
Right.
The dad has passed. The person has been in the property for over 20 years. He breaks the building just to redevelop it. And the kids come and said, my dad didn't sell it to you. Oh. And the man can't find the documentation between their dad and him. Luckily, just at the last minute, he found the deed and said, oh, look, your father signed this off to me over some 20 years ago. So complete the processes in your lifetime and don't burden yourself too much with your post-death. Or let somebody around you know, who may be your administrator or your children, know that. Because people keep indentures in their in their document, even titles in their suitcases. And
Yeah.
when they pass,
Hello,
the
people.
children are of the firm belief that my dad, I'm not sure my dad sold this, but your dad entered a transaction with somebody. So I would say let somebody know or make sure that the process is complete so that it reflects in the records. Yes.
Super, super. I understand that lots of people now fear to come to Lands Commission. There's one thing. The process.
It's better now.
It's better now.
It's better
So,
now.
Take us through the
It's
electronic
better now
system that you have.
because until the promulgation of Act 1036, we didn't have statutory timelines to guide Lands Commission in processing documentation. In fact, it was just, we ran wild. Whatever we can do, we can do. One of the things that the Act did was everybody's complaint was taken, and everybody was saying, Lands Commission, you just do things the way you want. So for searches, for instance, the Act in sections 130, says within 14 days, if you want to run a search, we should be able to give you. In all regions where the pressure is less, 14 days is almost 100%. In Accra, where there's pressure, the last time we did statistics was about 68% within 14 days. And the rest fall out of the 14 days. But for various reasons, some there may be errors with the plans they gave to us. We are giving it back to you. And the emails they created for Lands Commission, they never go back to check. So they are assuming that once they've given it to you, you can even correct errors in what was submitted. So now for searches, 14 days. For registration, the Act says within 90 days, the Lands Commission should be able to confirm to you that it is registrable. It doesn't say complete it, but it gives a much comfort to the person. And people are not suing it. But as you say, after 5 years, I'm beginning to hear murmuring within the legal fraternity that local Lands Commission will take you on. And the law says if you don't do that, and everything is fine, you can presume it to be registered. So at least the law now puts a burden on the Lands Commission to complete processes within a certain period and helped in improving the service delivery. And it will be better. At least we hear now the long-awaited government investment in technology is on its way. And I heard it in the budget this year. If I believe the budget, then I must believe the money will come. And if it comes, we can see a lot of decentralization and injection of technology.
Right. So the key thing is the timeline is still not defined, but within 90 days, you're able to know
whether it's
if it's
registrable or not. Yes.
Right.
Last time we did statistics again for title registration, we're doing around 8 months. Average. That doesn't mean everyone takes 8 months, but that's an average. And then for deeds, we're doing 2 months. Deeds is done in over 14 regions. So that is quicker. As for the title, you need a little investigation of title. So it takes much more time than the deeds registration does. So that I can see. We are not a perfect system. So
I can understand. We are getting there.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now, viewers, I would move to the legal framework in a bit, but then I can see your questions coming in thick and fast. We would love to lawyer Martin Pebu, who's a legal practitioner, very well vested in the legal framework of land issues in Ghana. He's on the line. Lawyer, if you can hear me, you can say hi to us. We are moving straight to you, but I'll be coming back to you with the questions. But we want to move to Lawyer Martin Pebu. Lawyer, if you can hear me, please say hi to us.
Hello, good afternoon. Yeah.
Right. Great, lawyer. Now, we have gone through the system where we've spoken to a broker or an agent who's led us to a land. We've decided that this is the land we want to go with, we want to purchase it, or this is the building we want to buy. We've been to Lands Commission. They have told us that, well, this land that you're talking about is in good shape. It is registered in the person who's selling it to you. And now we want to know, we have to engage a lawyer in all of this. What is the role of a lawyer in protecting our investment, if you can take us through?
Hello. Okay. There's a slight break. I lost you a little bit.
Sorry?
Yeah, I said I lost you a little bit. I think there's a break.
I'll take it again. So we've been through the processes of engaging an agent and a broker to acquire a land or a property. Now we've been to Lands Commission, who have confirmed to us that this property that we want to buy or the land that we are getting is actually, it belongs to who we say it belongs to. Now, we know that that is just not the process. We need a legal brain to carry us through the process. And in this, yes, we need to first understand the land tenure system in Ghana first, and then we know what kind of land we are getting and what kind of lease we are even getting on it. How does a lawyer help protect this investment for us? How do we have to engage a lawyer in this process?
Okay. All right. So, you got two hats in one in Timothy Anidohu being the director at the Lands Commission and at the same
Right.
time a lawyer. So you can trust that Timothy is sharper on it than me. But of course, we also do it from the private lawyer's perspective. So when a client approaches a lawyer who practices this immovable law property, that's acquiring properties, that's land, buildings, etc. First you would ask to see the authority, okay? That's the documentation, the title deeds of the person seeking to dispose of his land. So in this case, the seller. Does he have any documentation generally? Of course, there are exceptions. There are places where they don't have documents because we'll soon come to the other part of your question, which is the various interests in land. So we'll be looking at the customary law, usufructs, etc. But for now, the general one, because if we look at this webinar, the kind of people, the target audience will not be talking too much about customary law, usufruct. So let me go straight that the person ordinarily, the seller would have a title deed, or you hear popularly indenture. So the lawyer inspects it. If it looks up to scratch, good. If it doesn't, still, sometimes we do a practical approach, which would be that, okay, if the seller is holding only a site plan and insists that the property is being registered, but somehow they cannot find the documentation, we would have to cooperate because, it's not every time you will find everything done according to the books. So the next stage is to conduct a search. Now, in order to conduct a search, that you are coming to Mr. Anidohu's office, Lands Commission, to verify whether the property is registered. Now, let's be clear. It's not every property that's registered. It's not every. Most of them, from our practice, most of them are not. But assuming this one is, and even if it's not registered, generally, it's safer to conduct a search just to know what they have was really
Okay.
acquired, right? So
Right.
it's better that you do the search. That's the stage 2. You conduct a search. Now, to conduct the search, sometimes we advise that don't just use the site plan that the seller, okay, has brought. Take your own surveyor to go to the land and pick the coordinates again and draw up a site plan. That the document that looks like with the drawings, etc. So that you're sure that your competent surveyor has produced a proper site plan. This is to avoid situations where the site plan that has been given to you is different from the land you've been shown in practice. That's to say, the one who is disposing of the land has gone to show you a parcel of land. He says, this is what I'm disposing of. But sometimes the site plan he's holding is of a different parcel of land. So if you don't pick the coordinates on the ground, that's if you don't pick the data on the very land you've been shown, you could be scammed where you conduct a search and you see everything perfect, but it may turn out that that's not the land you are dealing with. You are dealing with a totally different parcel of land. So that stage 2 involves conducting a search. But to conduct a search, you also let your surveyor, competent one, do a site plan for you to do the search. So now, when the search results come out, you'll get to know whether this is land that has been compulsorily acquired. So when we say compulsorily acquired, from its name, then in simple terms, it means that that's government land. The government has taken over. And so any other person who was a previous owner, it doesn't matter that he's a chief, etc. He's no longer the owner. Excuse me. Now, apart from the compulsory acquired land, you will find that Other lands are vested, right? So it's good Timo is there. He will give you more nuances on the vesting. But from our history, some are vested. So in simple language, the government has taken them and is managing for the people. Okay? So those ones the search may show. Then you will find two lands, family, etc. So if everything goes according to plan, the search will reveal a lot. So if the search shows that if it's a simple type, that's to say that the person tending to dispose of, he has been registered and there are no issues of being vested land, being compulsory acquired land, etc., then it means that you are good to go. That's to deal with the person directly. But if a search were to show that this land is vested land or is compulsorily acquired, we don't stop there. What we do is that, you see, in practice, there are vast areas of land that government has acquired, but government doesn't use. So people tend to go and then take over. That's in other words, the families that originally owned the land have been, for lack of a better word, have the tacit agreement of government. I say tacit. I don't want to say express because there's no document, but tacit because impliedly they've been given some permission to give these lands out, but then you go to the Lands Commission for regularization. So you go, Mr. Anido, who will give you more this details on how they do the regularization. You say, then, so in such a case, a good lawyer will go and inquire from Lands Commission first. That, oh, this area, I see government has an interest in it. But the people have assured me that the government has not finished the process of divesting, etc. So for now, they are able to give out the land, and then the people, that's the buyer, comes to Lands Commission for regularization. So if the Lands Commission confirms, and also generally, if you practice in the industry, you know that some areas that is the case, then you can go ahead and deal. But if you don't get assurances from Lands Commission that in this area they are routinely doing regularization, then it means that you would stop. Okay, so assuming all the papers are in order after the search and all those, the next thing is that you would have to enter into a written contract, because at that stage you may still not know whether this seller, all right, has sold to another person, whether he's taking all the money or not. In law, if it turns out that at the time he's giving to your client, so me as a lawyer, the client one is interested, but this seller had previously taken even one Ghana cedis from another person as a result of a sale and purchase agreement, that other person will have some rights. I don't want to use technical terms, but if you like a bit of the technical term, you hear equitable rights, right? So
Right.
it's important we get into an agreement. You hear sale and purchase or contract of sale or any other name. The most important thing is that there will be an agreement that will put out the terms and conditions. Essentially, you want the person to assure you, the buyer, that he has not sold to any other person, so that if it turns out that that is the situation, you must get a refund. So we negotiate a contract, and also practically, your question is about protecting your client. We make
Right.
sure that the payment is not upfront. No, we don't do the payment upfront, but we stagger the payments, installment payments, so that in case something comes up, at least you still have a bulk of the money, right? So when you do the installment payment, you would typically indicate in the contract that upon the deposit, you have a right as the buyer, the purchaser, to go onto the land and then perhaps tip some sand, etc. But if it's a property that's already been built up by, let's say, Mr. Tarikoni in this case, yes, generally you are assured when you see them at the side building, it gives a lot of comfort, but you still do the due diligence, right? To be sure that they have all the requisite documentation. So this is how generally we go about it. You stagger the payments until, so that there's opportunity for red flags to be noticed or to emerge, and then those can be resolved. I hope this answers the question. Until the final transfer of title. Yeah, so when you finish paying and then the everything is done, but sometimes we don't even finish paying. You would say that, look, okay, if I pay up to 80% or 85 or whatever percentage, depending on your strength, the bargaining power, then there will be a transfer of the title before you make the final payment. Because if, I mean, typical of human beings, if you just paid up everything, naturally, the seller will be slower to perfect the title for you, that's to transfer for you, etc., than if you retain part of the money. Once part of his money is retained, there is an incentive for him to do the documentation for you quickly, and then you can give him the balance.
Okay, thank you very much, lawyer. Stagger the payments, you say. I have one direct question for you, then I'll come back to you again. Someone is asking that if not every property is registered, how do you know you're dealing with the right owner? Because you go in and you know that not every property is registered. So you search and you realize that it is not registered. How do you know that the person you are dealing with is the right person? Do you have an answer for us?
Yeah. Okay. So there are a number of things. One of the things we do is that we'll ask if who is he in the family, or if it's not a family, he also acquired it from a certain family or a clan. We'll ask him to show the persons he acquired from. So we interview those people, and then we ask those people for references. So let's say, and also at the okay, that's registration. So let's come back this way. For those that are not registered, you ask those people for references. So let's say if he says, oh, my head of family is Numwe Bokite Lawe, just as an example. So you ask to meet that head of family, and then if you are experienced, or if you are not, you take that name, then you come and ask Mr. Anyudo who and co, those who have been in the industry there for long. We go to Lands Commission sometimes if the name is strange. So you go and ask, or sometimes because we have lawyer friends, we ask them on phone. Oh, Mr. Anyudo, we want to get this land in this area, Teshi. The head of family says he's so and so and so. I want to find out whether you know him. So people who are on informal basis with Mr. Anyudo, he will answer on phone. Yeah, Timo is a very nice man. He will tell you that, oh, Martin, oh, okay, this head of family, yes, I know him. We have records on him. He's been there, this. But if you don't know Mr. Anyudo, maybe you can call. There are other lawyers. Mr. Apia Braco, Pepra, the whole setup at the Lands Commission, they are very experienced. They know these things. So sometimes they are the ones we fall on when we are confronted with people we don't know as lawyers. So you ask the Lands Commission officers who have been there for long. Mr. Anyudo who will tell, I'm sure lots of families, he will tell you at his fingertips. If there's a dispute in the family, and so you cannot deal with that person, he will tell you that, hey, I understand there's a lawsuit challenging this head of family. So be careful, you can't deal with him. This. So, and other ways, sometimes we ask chiefs. So if the person says he's head of family, sometimes you want to go and ask the chief of, let's say if the family is within Nungua, then you want to make inquiries from the Nungua Manches Palace. Oh, this person says he's head of family. This. What do you say? But from my experience, most of the time, we tend to rely on the database that the Lands Commission has because Mr. Anyudo who and co, they know a lot more. The lawyers there, and even the non-lawyers, the surveyors there. I mean, generally, because they do land registration, etc., they encounter a lot of these family heads and chiefs and the rest. So they are able to give this what do you call it? References. They are able to tell you this one is a red flag, this one is good to go, etc.
Right. Thank you very much, lawyer. I think a lot of referencing has been made to lawyer Timothy, but I think there is a best part of me that's very interesting. There's a lot of questions coming in for the React Council, a lot coming in for financing as well. And that's the bit that's very, very important to me. After all of this, I think we need to finance the property. So either we are buying a home or we are building it. It takes money to do that. And we have a very astute person in the studio here with us to take us through that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will permit me, Mr. Kojo Adukufuor, who's the executive head, Home Loans Business, First National Bank. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Great, great. Now, Mr. Adukufuor, people are at the crossroad. Now they've gone through the rudiments. They are happy with what they find, but they don't have ready money available. How does your outfit come in, and how do you help such people?
Right. So we are ready to help whether they want to buy or whether they want to build. The philosophical question, which is better, buy versus build, is one that doesn't have an easy answer, right?
Right.
It depends on your personal circumstances. But once you accept that, whether you want to build, as in acquire the land and consult the lawyers and design with architects, etc., we have a product for that. We have a home construction product that helps you do it. Or if you want to buy from a developer, such as Trasacco, you can approach us, and we can help you get that done. So, and even if you don't have the land, we can give you money to build the land. So we kind of cover the spectrum. The option we are really against is the do nothing option, where you just kind of sit there and think about it forever. And unfortunately, some people do that. They just kind of analyze and analyze. I mean, as long as you're ready to take a step, we are there to help you. And we work very closely. I'm a member of the Tim fan club.
Right.
Yeah, a registered member, pay my dues. Yeah, we're always in touch with Lands Commission. We make sure that we get the best advice possible to check out the land before we advance funds against it.
I think that there are a lot of questions for you, actually. People, there's a myth around mortgage in Ghana, and they feel that, okay, if I want to buy a property or I want to buy a land, if I don't take care, this thing will be taken from me in the future. Some say that we end up paying more than we even bought, more than the price of the product that we are buying. My quick question to you, someone who's listening to us from Australia is asking, they express interest in the property. They are not here. They don't bank here. They don't do anything here, but they're Ghanaian. If they want to come to your outfit for you to finance something for them, what do they require?
Right. And I think the person living in Australia is our ideal client because they're not here, right? And chances are either they don't have relatives here or they don't want their relatives to know their business. We have several cases like that. And the reason why we are here for them is you're in Australia, Melbourne, somewhere down south. How do you check out the property? How do you know the property is even there? How do you know the vendor is real? I mean, we've spoken about all of this over the past hour or so. So you need partners on the deal, and we are your partners, right? You are putting in 20,000, we are putting in 80,000. Trust me, we'll check it out 1,000 times just to make sure our money is going to the right person. So those who understand this come to us over and over and over again. And we do non-resident Ghanaians, we do non-resident non-Ghanaians. And yeah, exactly.
Oh, you do non-Ghanaians?
Yeah, non-resident non-Ghanaians, exactly. So if you live in California somewhere, you're buying land, you're building property, how do you know? I mean, how do you check this out? So there are those who understand this and use us quite effectively. And then there are those who say something such as what you just said, which is, oh, you pay through the nose, etc. I'll give it to my friendly cousin or my uncle. He'll do a better job. And then they come back 5 years later and they're surprised the house isn't there. So we keep telling them that, listen, we are not perfect, but we do a very good job checking out title, making sure that the vendor is the vendor, making sure that the documents you get are registrable. I think Lawyer Tim spoke about that. So that's the most important thing. Before money changes hands, you must have registrable documents in your hand. Otherwise, once the vendor gets paid, they don't have any incentive to pick your call, right? And then you're stuck. So it's very doable. We've been doing this for years. And yes, okay, so if you borrow 1,000 cedis or $1,000, you pay 1,000 back with interest. But that's standard. I mean, to be a mystery if you didn't pay a bit of interest, right? But here are some stats for you. time after time after time, we've seen that majority of people acquire properties, at least from developers, using their own funds. So if the rule of thumb we've come to observe is about 70-30. If a developer builds 70 properties, 100 properties, 70 are cash purchased, 30 are mortgages, right? So mortgages are by no means the majority. And of the 30 that are majority are mortgages, 90% of them pay off well before term. Think about that, right? 90%. So this whole notion that it will be repossessed and taken away from you, again, it's not based in any fact. It's all myths. The reality is one of our greatest nightmares, and for me who runs the business, is prepayments. People paying, you sign someone up for a 15-year loan, and by year 4, he's paid off, he's gone.
Right.
And that leaves you kind of scratching your head wondering what you're going to do next.
Right.
So we that's something we grapple with. But if your listeners and viewers are going to take anything away from this, it's the fact that it's doable. Thousands of people have done it. It's worked perfectly for them. If you're in Ghana and you've got a lot of cash in the bank and you've got a team of people ready to build or buy for you, fine. But if you're non-resident, I don't think there's any debate about this at all.
Right.
You need a financing partner to work alongside you to make sure that somebody's looking out for your interest. And that's us.
Right. One key question someone is asking, they said they heard you mention that people in the diaspora are your ideal clients.
Absolutely.
This person is listening from Takoradi. He's asking, is he not an ideal client?
I think we are there to serve everybody. It's because of the scenario as presented.
Right.
Obviously, most of our customers are here, but the stories, the heartbreaking stories you hear are normally from those in the diaspora. If you're in Takoradi and you want to buy a place up in Takwa somewhere, we are there for you as well. We do have a branch in Takoradi, by the way. But normally, the stuff that really breaks your heart is when you meet someone who says, I was outside the country and I tried buying some land and the vendor has disappeared with my money. And we pay particular attention to those situations and make sure. But yeah, your customer in Takoradi is right. we love everybody.
Right.
We love them all, yeah.
Super. So which is more easier to finance? Is it someone building their own home or someone buying from a developer? That's another question from someone listening to us from California.
Both are about the same. So let's take it one at a time. So somebody building their own home, the scenarios that tend to come to us, the person bought the land, not with our money, they bought it themselves, they started building, and at some point heard about us. Then they decide to take the home construction loan or home completion loan to finish the project. We look at the documents, put a call through to Tim's office, say, listen, what's going on here? And that's when we find out they don't have planning permission. The land they bought is probably been earmarked for some highway or there's some route of title issue. And so we have to kind of work through that with them if it's possible. That takes a fair bit of time. But if all of that checks out and they pass the credit assessment test, it's quite straightforward. We look at the project, figure out how much they need to complete, make sure they're good for the money, and conclude. That's someone building their own house, right?
Right.
If they're buying from a developer, again, that's also straightforward. Hopefully, it's a developer we know, we've worked with, so they know our processes. We have a bit of a reputation for being thorough.
Yeah.
And it's for good reason, because sometimes it's easy to assume if it's a developer, they've built 100 houses, what could possibly go wrong with house 101? But trust me, we've had such problems. So we do check them out, and some like it, some don't. But it's the same process, making sure the title is good, everything that makes the documents registrable is in place, then we disperse. The team is super experienced, qualified people in the room, and they do a good job of doing the very best under circumstances. Every so often, something happens that completely catches us off guard. Yeah, and catches even Lance Commission. Even Lance Commission catches the off guard. But generally we're on the ball. We get things done, and if there are any mistakes, we straighten them out. So either way, there's a process we go through, and we get to the destination. As I said, the only option we don't like is the do nothing option. where people don't, they just kind of sit there and say, I'll do it in my own time, and then they never get around to doing it. Yeah.
A very important question came in. I'm not too sure if this is directed towards you or lawyer Martin Pebu. And let me read it. The person is asking, how much does it cost to seek legal advice for the mortgage contract?
So I'll answer the easy part, and probably lawyer will come in with the more
Right.
difficult part. So if you live in most Western economies where the mortgage system is developed, the buyer and the vendor both have solicitors on the case. So you as the customer, you really don't get involved. The lawyers are talking to the lawyers, the agents are talking to the agents. And so they just call you one day to come and sign. So a lot of stuff happens in the background which you won't appreciate. In Ghana, people sometimes think the lawyers will take all their money, so they don't engage lawyers. And it's a direct conversation between the buyer and seller. The seller just wants their money. They won't take a lawyer, and the buyer thinks that it's too expensive to go the legal route. So they come to us and we go through the process with them. But at some point, you will find that if you come through us, then obviously we go for legal opinions. We got lawyers checking it out. But those who don't come through us and don't consult a lawyer because the lawyer might take 2% or 3% or whatever it is, lawyer Martin is going to tell us in a minute. The cost of that mistake could be multiples of what you would have paid for legal advice. But if you come through us, you pay an application fee, 1.5%, and it covers everything. So you won't pay for legal advice. We have lawyers we
Could you
retain.
repeat that? You said 1 point what?
1.5%
1.5%
of the loan amount.
Of the loan amount,
Yeah,
right.
so that's when you pay that, it's your application fee. It covers everything. In the background, due diligence is done, legal opinions are sought, etc. We won't charge you any legal fees. But for your own peace of mind,
Right.
you might want to get a lawyer on your side just to look out for the bits that you care about. And whatever it is they charge, I can assure you, if the deal goes wrong, you wish you had paid that amount. But I mean, I'm sure there are people who tell us how much they charge.
Lawyer Martin Pebu, please, for our own peace of mind,
Yes.
how much will it take? Please.
Oh, so generally we are flexible. Okay, the lawyer's scale of fees tells us to be flexible. So it varies. Sometimes you get 2%, 3%. It depends on the value. Sometimes you see 10% as well. So bottom line is that ideally, generally, you would see 10%. But when the figure is high, assuming somebody is buying a property worth $1 million, yes, the person is able to say, look, lawyer, I'm not giving you 10%. Look, how about 3, 4, or something like that? So it all depends on the bargaining skills of that person and also the stature of the lawyer. Yeah, so the more experienced and high profile the lawyer, then the more he's unlikely. I'm using the word unlikely. I'm not saying by all means, but he will be unlikely to bend over backwards, right? So one word describes it all. It would be negotiations and bargaining power and savviness.
Right. Thank you very much, lawyer. Now, as we are negotiating this, someone just sent in a question that would go to Mr. Jeffrey. Someone said he dealt with a developer who could not complete their development. Now, they have a tussle trying to take their money out. Is REACT an agency they can actually approach to assist them in this regard?
Well, I think earlier on I spoke to you about the component of the ADR center that we have. So the reason why we have that is to listen to most of these complaints. And we've had a few of them coming on board, and we're sure that because of that, we're helping people to address those issues. So clearly, it's our space that we're using to help people who are bought properties from developers to help them.
Okay. He goes on to ask that where is your office located?
So we are in Cantonment, not too far from American Embassy. So I probably will leave my number and he could get in touch with me. But we're clearly behind Shogun. I mean, if you know
Oh, Shogun, yeah.
Shogun, we're just behind Shogun, and there's a dead end actually behind American Embassy. That's where the office location is.
Right. So if you're listening in, and please, those that are watching, please, their office is right behind. I call the place Shogun. He says it's Shogun. So yes, if you get the Shogun or the American Embassy, you can locate them right there. There's an interesting question. So this brings us to the next segment of our webinar, where we delve deeper into what the panelists or the speakers think about buying versus building. And there's a beautiful case scenario that we'll take their inputs on. It's a very interesting one. Now, we know that in Ghana, it's very, very, I'd say that out there, people think that I don't want people knowing my business. People always want to do things in the quiet. Someone is buying something, they tell you, please, when my brother comes, don't tell him I'm buying this. Now, one question is, as Ghanaians do, they pass away before. If someone passes away before actually completing a payment on the property that they are buying, either building a house or buying from a developer, and they are doing this on the quiet, how does the system help such a person? Does the property go to waste? What happens actually? And I'd love to start from Lawyer Timothy.
I'm only saying I learned from him. They are so thorough that they support Lands Commission even in its in technological drive. That's what First Bank does. And just to let you know what. But coming back to your issue, you can be quiet, but you wouldn't miss using a professional, as Lawyer Martin Kwebo kept saying. If you use professionals and somebody knows that transaction, there is no way you can miss it. Even if you pass away, the person would look for somebody and you continue the transaction, assuming you were with First Bank. First National. And I know them as Ghana Home Loans more.
Right.
And then you come to them and then you say you are actually a transaction. I'm sure part of their processes would ask certain information, next of kin, which is a normal thing. And if you would deal with a professional, he would by sure means have to know what your next of kin is. He can deal with you, but if something happens, like I and my brothers went to ask my dad, if you have a will, let us know. He said, do you want to kill me? But it was just a question because after his demise, we don't want to be struggling.
Exactly.
For an 85-year-old man, we don't want to be struggling. So yes, you can do it on a quiet, but always remember that these transactions, we are but mortal men. And therefore, there will always be a need, if you use a professional, to know, where do I go if it goes south? And therefore, that's what can solve the whole. You can still be quiet, but at least use a professional.
Okay, so Mr. Dokufo, if someone approaches you, you are helping them actually to acquire property. They pass on. You're going to contact their next of kin.
Yes.
And ask them to continue?
No. Once they pass on, the transaction itself stalls for a while as we try to figure out what happens next. The next of kin is just to point us to who they are. The next of kin is often misconstrued as the successor. It's not. It's just someone will call to say, this person passed on. Who should we speak to? Do they have a surviving spouse, kids? So that's how the conversation goes. For a very long time, we insisted on life insurance as part of the financing package. So you take a loan, and for the life of the loan, you service it and then pay annual premiums on your life insurance. So if you become permanently disabled or you pass on, the insurance company pays the remaining amount. Right. So yes, the sad event has occurred, but the house remains unencumbered. The loan is paid off. The successor or whoever inherits it gets it without any loans. But there was so much pushback. We made it an option, but it's still very good practice.
It is.
I mean, it's still very good practice. There's nothing more heartbreaking than to show up at someone's doorstep to say, listen, we had this person pass. Guess what? He had a loan with us. And by the way, it's 6 months behind. So what's going to happen here? Sometimes you find the surviving spouse or a relative volunteers to take over the loan. So depending on whether the person had a will or not, there's it's quite complicated. And whilst all of that is happening, if the loan interest is also taken in the background, it makes for a very uncomfortable conversation. So having life insurance is very good advice. It costs a bit, but it's still very good advice. and making sure that at least somebody knows about the house is also very good advice. But for us, we'll trace the next of kin, we'll make calls and just wait for somebody. Invariably, somebody always shows up to say, I'm aware of this house. What's the situation? How do we move forward?
All right, thank you very much. I think the most important bit of the scenario is you don't want nobody to know. So if nobody knows, it moves me to lawyer Martin Pebu, someone who's not dealing with maybe a finance house to finance his building, who has a next of kin. Lawyer, can you take us through someone starts building something? Maybe it's just the lawyer is aware. Are there provisions in law that would help them, assuming no family member knows apart from the lawyer?
Okay, so the person is deceased, but he had a mortgage. That's it, right? Yeah.
No. This time around, they don't have a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a mortgage.
But
So
they
they
were building
purchased
the land. Sorry. Hello?
Are you able to hear me, Noya? Yeah, they
Yes, I
purchased
heard
the
the
property
last part.
informally.
Is that
Yes. So what
can I
happens to
correct?
the property in this instance? They purchased it informally, not through mortgage,
Uh-huh.
and they pass on.
Oh, and the lawyer knows. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Then the lawyer has a responsibility to look for the family. So the easiest is assuming he didn't come with any family member. You cause an advert to be made in the newspapers, all right, and then also informally. You know, at this time, most of the time, the person has a telephone number. So that's the first point of call. You would call that number. If, let's say, he was to come to you after a certain period, he didn't come. So naturally, there would be you'll be wondering, Kwesi was supposed to see me on Monday. He didn't. 2 months on, he hasn't. Maybe you don't even wait for 2 months, depending on how much he's paid you, etc. You would call the number. So, and usually nowadays, when somebody dies, they don't switch off the phone. Rather, they keep it close so that all calls that come through are answered. So most invariably, you would see that when you call, somebody will pick up and then you can make inquiries. But rather, also, let me say from experience that because some people tend to save the numbers on their phones with their title, lawyer, so and so, when that person dies and then the phone is being used by one family member who has a responsibility to answer calls, etc., they look through and then they would call you. Oh, lawyer, we found this number on our deceased brother's phone. This. Is there anything he has that we should know? I have received about three calls. Yeah, three calls like that. And so if there's anything, you would let them know. But assuming he never used a phone, I mean, or perhaps it doesn't occur to the family to put on the phone, then you have to cause an advert in the newspapers that the family of so and so should contact you. Then you give your telephone number. That method has always been, it's been there for longest. I can remember some dating over 20 years. Yeah, a lawyer placing an advert asking family members to contact him.
All right. Thank you very much, lawyer. Brings me to my next question that's directed at Mr. Adukfor. So someone is asking that whether they buy or build, which choice positions them better for future resale, expansion, or change in use? And this has got to do with if maybe they acquired it via mortgage or something. Yeah.
Right. So the answer is it depends. Again, because it depends where they bought or how they built. So let's say they bought.
Right.
They bought a standalone property in an open environment, not in a gated community. Such a property lends itself for expansion, for change in use, and for future renovation, etc. Depending on what town and country planning will allow you to do. Just bear in mind that the same way you can change the use of your property, your next door neighbor too can change the use of theirs, and before you know it, you have a very noisy person next door.
Right.
So that's one scenario. If they bought within the gated estate, then there are some limitations about what you can and cannot do. So it's all about knowing what you need the property for now, what you might need it for in future, and then taking an action which is consistent with those plans. So if you know you are going to maybe build a block of shops, or you intend to build a block of shops as part of your retirement planning, then it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to buy within the gated estate, because there will be restrictions on even sometimes how the color you can paint your house, right?
Right.
So if you know a block of shops is part of your future plans, then you're better off going into open town country somewhere, just building or buying something there because of what you intend doing in future.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Lawyer Timothy, please, the next question is actually directed to you. We're actually at the crossroads now. Now, someone is asking that they want to hear from you, from your experience. Is it better for them to actually buy a land and go through all the processes and put up something, or they should simply buy? And you're an expert, and they want your honest answer on this.
Well, as I say again, it's like a chicken and egg situation. I wish I could definitely tell them. I had an experience at the housing fair when I had a developer, a very prominent developer, say one of the biggest challenges in Ghana is the craftsmanship of the carpenter, the mason, even if a developer struggles with that, how much more an individual who doesn't have the skill to know. So people say it easily, and if you've talked to anybody, you tell that his first house was an experiment because you end up picking workers who may not know. You also don't know the art, and that may be a difficulty. Yeah? So I always say, build if you have the expertise or you have the time to supervise what they are doing. If you don't have all that, you end up doing everything twice. But if a developer, and again, by standards, React can check them, and they have certain standards by their grader and all that, then they must be held up to a certain standard. And therefore, they should do better in terms of what they deliver to the customer. Yes, people say it's expensive if you buy. I always say, of course, he's giving you roads, he's giving you a certainty of a neighbor, he's giving you electricity. So that is the additional bit.
Yeah.
To get land on your own can be a hit or miss. You can get it here today, you are comfortable. Your next door may be a church the next morning.
Right.
So it's just the practicality of how I have experienced the industry, and that's what I'm sharing.
Right. I actually love the church bit that sometimes you buy a property, you actually buy a land, which is a property, and then you decide to build. And you don't have the certainty of having like-minded people around you.
Yeah.
And those are one of the negations when it comes to wanting to build.
Stand alone.
Exactly. So if you buy, then you are way better off. But then a question to Mr. React. I call you Mr. React. Yes. Lately, we've been having buildings just collapse. I think in the news you saw a 3-story building it just collapses out of nowhere. Now, this is someone who's just building something to sell. A quick question to you. If you're going to build a property or you're going to buy a property, are you going to maybe a well-recognized civil engineering firm to do that for you? Or the way we have it in our local parlance, you find some draftsman or, foreman, and then give the project to him to build? Looking at what is happening, would you rather look at the certainty of probably just walking straight to a developer to buy, or you'd want to tour the path of maybe a foreman or a draftsman to probably help you?
So I think that quality is everything. And one of the things that we want to do at React is to collaborate with the developers to ensure that when they start building, we're going to come inspect the units to ensure that they just built, because people are shortchanged. And we notice that people don't follow through the processes. I mean, they're in a hurry to build and it's all money.
Yeah.
So what we want to do at React, it's part of our LI that we're pushing to ensure that at every stage of your project line, we're monitoring. And we want to essentially talk about quality as key component of our function. So that's one thing that we want to do, because we don't just want you to cut corners. Once you cut corners, it means that you're not even checking the level of the structural and everything. So It's something that I won't advocate for a foreman, but I think that, like Timo said, is either if you have money, you go for the best, but clearly, if you are doing things, you have to do it right, and you don't cut corners. So if you per your question of the buildings collapsing, clearly it shows that they didn't follow through the processes in terms of they're either in a hurry to sell or rent out. Those are the consequences. I think that for us at REAC or all our collaborative agencies, we want to ensure that people are buying value for money, to ensure that we want to bring independent people to check the quality of people's project. And those are the things that we want to bring on board to bring confidence into the system.
All right, thank you very much. Confidence into the system. So once you're dealing with someone, viewers, you should be looking at someone who's well trusted, someone who's regulated by REAC, because like he said, they come in to ensure that the properties that are being put up are of the quality that is needed. Now, if you look at, on the other hand, where you go to probably buy something and build on your own. Quick question, REAC, do you help in that? Someone is building their own property. Would you go in there to check on the quality of what they're doing?
Well, I don't think we want to do things that are not part of our functions. I
Right.
mean, the other collaborative agencies that we will advise you to consult, but we're trying to work with everybody who's part of our the collaborative agencies, like Lands Commission, with the banks, Greater and all, so FIC and all the components to make sure that people follow through the processes. So once you cut corners, then you're on your own.
Right. Thank you very much. I will be ending with Mr. Adokufor and lawyer Martin Pebu, but please do stay with us to the end because we have a special incentive for this webinar. Now, Mr. Adokufor, this is a direct question to you. You have been helping people finance their homes, and for so many years you've been doing this. Honestly, how do you see the market? Do you think that it's easier to buy or to build? And what would you do?
Tough one. Personally, if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely buy.
Right.
I tried several times in the past. When I was outside the country before I came in, I bought land, bought land again, lost it. When I came, tried building. It's just too much hassle. I think Timothy touched on it. I mean, you must have the expertise, you must have the time. And sometimes people don't put a dollar value on the time they spend standing around arguing with people who know more about construction than you ever will. And so I'll definitely look for someone who knows how to build and buy from them. It's a lot easier. That's what I would do.
Right. Yeah. Right. Thank you very much. And if you're listening to us, please, we'll end with lawyer Martin Pebu. But like I said, we have a special incentive for this webinar. If you're able to booking with us, we have a team of experts that are waiting. I know there are tons of messages that are actually coming in. Unfortunately, because of time, we can't answer everything, but we have a team of experts who will be staying behind to actually help you answer all these questions. So please keep them coming in. We will address all of them. And we can assure you too that at the end of the webinar, we will send you a link to the full video. It's a recorded live session. So we'll send it to you so that at any point in time, maybe you're not looking at buying today or tomorrow or next week, but one day. So you can always go back to it and then check, and then you are able to get, you are well informed in making your next decision. Lawyer Martin Pebu, are you live with us, sir?
Yes, I am.
Right. Now, someone actually specifically asked me to ask you. They know you are a very thorough person. They've been hearing of you, but they want to know from you. You say something and they will run away with it. Would you build or would you buy, and why?
Oh, naturally, if I had all the money, right, I would buy. Because look, having built over, almost 2 decades now, I know there's a lot of stress. Look, sometimes you are in court, right? One of my clients laughs at me. You are in court talking to the judge, and then you're on your feet, right? Giving submissions. Then your phone rings. You look at it and you see that, hey, is the foreman calling? Then you're like, so at that time you are distracted. Yes. So there's a lot of stress when you build yourself. And sometimes you lose the land. Yeah, I have lost land to myself, I think 3 times, right? So the thing is, it's a big if. If I had all the money, I would buy. and I've bought some. So sometimes you buy, other times you build. So it all depends on the circumstances of each case.
Thank you very much, Lawyer Martin Pebu. Now, I'd go back to all my speakers and thank you so much for making time for this webinar. We really, really appreciate it. We've had a lot of insights. Personally, I've learned a lot as well. There are a few things that I didn't know that I am knowing now, and most especially listeners as well and our viewers. Lots of questions have come in, but I'm pretty sure that you have experts that are backing you as well who are willing to help or to answer these questions. Unfortunately, time will not allow us to go to those questions and answer them, but we have a team who will be doing that. And I would also love to announce the incentive that if you are able to actually book a unit with Trasacco Properties, we give you free kitchen upgrades and free service charge for a year or two. That if you're able to book something by the 31st of January. So if you've stayed on with us, please, we have a team. If you have anything to consult on at all, please stay back and we will address you. So viewers, please, this brings us to the end of this very webinar. So after today, what will be your next step? You've heard all the insights from financing to legal regulatory framework to REACT and what they are looking at doing or sanitizing the system, and to Lands Commission, where you get to check everything before you go in to buy a property. What is your next step? We are here to help us. We do free consultations at Trasacco Properties. So if you're on this webinar, please stay behind and we will address you. Thank you very much for joining us and have a wonderful day.